My name is Louise Bobrow. Today's date is April 29th, 1996. I am conducting an interview with survivor Fred LOEWY. The interview is being conducted in Glendale, Arizona, in the United States of America. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What is your complete name?
Fred LOEWY.
Would you spell that, please?
F-R-E-D, LOEWY, L-O-E-W-Y.
Was that your name at birth?
No, at birth my first name was Manfred.
Could you spell that, please?
M-A-N-F-R-E-D.
And you changed it to Fred?
Fred. Actually, in the army they called me Freddy, and when I came over here, during my naturalization proceedings, I changed it to Fred.
And your last name at birth was LOEWY?
I believe my parents' name was spelled L-O with an umlaut, W-I, and then L-O-E-W-Y.
Did you have any nicknames at all?
No. The only thing is, during the war, I had a different name, but no nickname as such.
During the war, you had a different name, but at the time that you were a youngster growing up,
No.
no nicknames?
No.
Where were you born?
I was born in Frankfurt, Main, Germany.
When?
Oh, February 18, 1925.
And you were born in Frankfurt am Main?
Yes.
Can you describe, how long did you live in Frankfurt am Main?
About 1 year.
And then where did you move?
We moved to France, to Alsace-Lorraine.
Okay, we have to stop for 1 minute. We had to stop for a technical problem, but we're going to resume. You mentioned that you moved after 1 year old to where?
To Alsace. Actually, we did live in different cities in Alsace. The first one was Sélestat, S-E-L-E-S-T-A-T.
How long did you live there?
I would say probably 8 or 9 years.
Can you describe this? Where exactly was this located? Near what large city was it?
It is about halfway between Strasbourg and Colmar.
And what do you recall of this
Place?
place?
Oh, I was a youngster. I would say that the worst thing that happened is I skipped school because I had kids that gave me a rough time because I was Jewish. So I hid under the staircase until a neighbor in the house found me there and reported me to my mother. That got me in hot water.
Was this a large city?
Colmar, no, possibly, I think maybe 10,000.
We're talking about Sélestat now,
Sélestat.
right? About 8 to 10,000 people?
I believe so.
And out of that 8 to 10,000, how many Jewish people were there?
I have no idea.
A small amount, or?
I would say that Alsace had a large proportion of the Jews in France.
In Alsace?
No, in France. I mean, they had two main centers. They had Alsace as a very large community of old-timers as well as refugees. And I guess the rest was in Paris, a large proportion.
So how else would you describe this first town that you lived in, Sélestat? What did it look like?
Very small town, actually. It had an old rampart, around the city. The people were not too friendly to Jews as such, I would say. Otherwise, it's a small town, really.
What type of town was it? Was it a farming town or a business type of center?
Well,
or?
all of Alsace basically is a very rich country. They have farming, they have mining, and they have also resorts. So it was not too far from the mountains, Vosges Mountains, because the Rhine divides the Black Forest from the Vosges Mountains. So we were on both sides near mountains there.
Do you remember the house that you lived in the first town in Sélestat, what street it was on?
Yes.
What was
I
the name of the
believe
street?
it was 5 Rue de la Jauge, Jauge,
And this was in Sellerstadt.
Siesta.
Was it a house or was it an apartment?
It was an apartment.
How would you describe it?
Small, actually. It was just across the street from a church. I think a Protestant church there.
How many rooms did the apartment have?
1, 2, 3, 4 rooms, I would say, plus kitchen.
Did you have your own bedroom?
With my brother, yes.
What was daily life like for you as a child? Could you describe what did your day consist of?
Well, I was very young at the time, so the first few years I would not recall. Then I went to school. I remember I went to what they call Collège Koeberle, Koeberle. And my sister was just about, I believe, 2 or 3 grades above the grade I was in. My brother was over there too. So he was about 1 or 2 grades above mine. I went to kindergarten first, actually.
What were you like as a youngster? How would you describe yourself?
Very quiet. I believe that I did not like to mix too much. I was keeping to myself quite a bit. First of all, you must remember that you are a foreigner. In France, that was, very much looked down upon. And you had always to have an authorization to live there. You had to go to the police every so often. I mean, for my parents, for instance, to get an authorization to open up a business, because basically over there they were afraid that you might take somebody's job away, so you could not work for anyone else. You had to be a salesman or have your own business.
So you were very quiet.
Very quiet.
Did you have any dreams or ambitions of what you wanted to be when you grew up?
I can't recall now. It's been quite a long time, and I was quite young.
How long did you live in Sellerstadt?
I'd say about 8 or 9 years.
And then where did you go?
We went to Strasbourg.
Salzburg?
Strasbourg.
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 And how long did you live there?
I'd say probably 3 or 4 years. And then my father had a store in Colmar, so we moved to Colmar after that.
So the place that you were in the longest when you were growing up was Sellerstadt?
Yes, I would say that.
So that would be the place you probably would remember the most for
Except
your
for my
childhood?
age. Yes.
Did you remember more about Colmar?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
what do you recall about that?
Well, Colmar was a very nice town. By the way, it was the hometown of Bartholdi, who was the creator of the Statue of Liberty. I went to Collège, let's see, that was Collège Lycée Bartholdi, Lycée, right. And then after a few years, I went to School of Industry and Commerce.
Did Colmar have a bigger Jewish population than
Oh yes,
Sellerstadt?
it was a bigger town then. It has a population of about 50,000 over
And
there.
what would be the percentage of Jews in Colmar?
I'm afraid I cannot tell. They had only, as far as I know, they had only 1 synagogue over there.
Were there other Jewish institutions in Colmar? Theater, Jewish centers for the arts, or
Well, I know that
newspaper? You know.
my father was a founder of one of the organizations there called Agudas Achim, and it was a social activity type organization.
When
We
you
used to
were,
have plays once a year. We had a play or so.
I'm sorry?
Once a year or so, we had a play.
You had a
there.
play in
Yeah,
Colmar
yeah.
that you put on.
The kids, mostly.
And this was in the center that your father founded? The
It was not in the center. It was actually Chamber of Commerce building where we had the meetings.
Did you have many friends as a youngster?
Some, not too many. I had some good friends. They were Gentiles, and later on I found that one was anti-Semitic afterwards, after the war. But what I do remember is we did have our Hebrew classes in the school, public school, on a Sunday, and I used to be quite nasty. I used to shoot, how do you call it, not spitballs, paper things to the rabbi's hat from behind the rubber band.
What do you
I like
remember enjoying the most as a youngster? What did you enjoy to do as a youngster the most?
Well, because my father had a radio store, I was very much interested in how to repair them, although I never did repair them myself. And I did help sometimes one of his employees to install a radio antenna. In those days, they used to have a bamboo shoot there and, use that as an antenna. Quite high up there.
So that was your hobby? Was that your hobby?
I would say that's about, yes.
Any other hobbies? Sports at all? Were you involved in any sports?
No, I did in the college, in the lycée, Bartholdi. On Thursdays we used to have a day off, and I used to go to what we may have called over here an ROTC, although it's not as complex, and they just let us fire guns and basically practice shooting. We had to be a certain age. I was probably 14, 15 years old.
Do you remember playing any special games or reading any special books as a youngster?
Books, I read many books because I was a bookworm at the time. I used to take a book in the morning for breakfast, read it, lunch, and supper.
Anything favorite that you remember?
The dictionary.
Any favorite song that you used to sing as a youngster?
Oh, nothing special. In Jewish songs, we used to have Hile Matov on a different tune than to sing over here.
Can you sing a phrase of it?
If I can remember it. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim. And so forth. That's the tune, a little different. Very bad voice.
So you attended schools in Selestad and in Colmar, am I
Yes,
correct?
well, different grades, you know.
So how many years of schooling did you have?
When the war started, I was in 5th, and they start from 12th grade. They start from class 12 to 5, so it's about 7 years.
And they were all public schools, is that correct?
No, the lycée was a private school.
Was it a religious private school? Or?
No, it was a private school. And so was, Collège Quai Palais was also private in Célestat.
So in total, how many years of schooling did you have?
I'd say about 7 years.
Did you like going to school?
As a matter of fact, yes, I did. I did quite well in general. As a matter of fact, the last year when the war started, we had just finished our last test. Not when the war started, before we left Colmar on foot. And I was the only one that had an A, or the equivalent, 20, in mathematics, and that made me very proud. The teacher made a big example of it. She says, there's only one man here that was able to get a 20 out of the class.
So math was your best subject?
At that time, yes.
While you were in school, did you experience any anti-Semitism?
I've seen some addressed to some students that were a little older than me. As a matter of fact, there was one of the students that was an anti-Semite who went to England during the war and was on the radio in England and was called Jacques d'Alsace, Jacques of Alsace. It was interesting. His brother was in my class. He never did a big fight with me. His name was Jacques Kalb, and he always reminded us that Kalb is Kaleb in Arabic, which means dog. Well, I don't know why he advertised it.
So did anything specifically happen to you, any kind of anti-Semitic acts while you were growing up and as a youngster?
Nothing special. I think the kids used to harass me because I was Jewish, and mostly in siesta, in class.
In Celestar?
Siesta, yes.
That's where you felt prejudice? Is that what you said?
Yes.
What languages were spoken in your home?
At home, German. In school, we spoke French. Alsatian in the street. However, they did not allow us to speak Alsatian in school.
What is Alsatian?
It's a dialect similar to German, actually. And you might say similar to German, similar to what they speak in Switzerland. It's one of those local.
What was your father's name?
Elias,
And his last name?
LOEWY.
And his occupation?
He had a radio store.
How would you describe your father?
Well, he had in the beginning probably a very rough life because he was a foreigner. And in Europe, in France especially, you know, they made things a little difficult for you.
Where was he born? Where was he?
He was born in Austria at the time, in the city of, in the village, I should say, of Zegocina, Zegocina, which is between Bochnia and Novi Sad. The Austrian name is Novi Sanditz.
So how would you continue to describe your father? What did he look like?
Well, he was always very often on the road because to sell the radio, you could not expect the customers coming to your place. You had to have some, what you call trio, some hints, some people that could recommend you to go see such and such. He would be interested in radio, so on and so forth. Then he went to the schools to sell the classes, radios also, for their foreign language classes.
Was he a big man, a small man, or?
No, I guess he was just about maybe 5'5" or so.
And did he have any other interests or hobbies, your father?
He was involved usually in Jewish organizations.
Yes, you mentioned a Jewish organization earlier that he was involved
In Colmar, yes. That one. But if he was interested in other ones before that, I was too young to realize.
Anything else you recall about your father when you were a youngster? Any special moments you had with him?
Yes, he was very upset with me because I didn't want to go to school on Saturday. He says, all your friends can be over there, why don't you go to school? You know, the family was Orthodox actually. And I just did not care too much for being school.
What was your mother's name?
Bertha, B-E-R-T-H-A, and she was born Jeret, J-E-R-E-T,
And where was she born?
in Wisniowa, W-I-S-N-I-O-W-A.
Where was that?
That's just a few miles south of Krakow, in the district of Wieliczka, V-I-E-L-I-Z-K-A or something like that.
And that was near Krakow
Yes,
in Poland?
yes. But she was very young when she left. She was born in 1997. And the family apparently went to Germany at the end of the century. So they were in Frankfurt at about the year 1900 or so.
And how would you describe your mother?
Well, she was a very hard-working person. What happened is they had a family of 10 children, and her mother was a sickly person. So my mother had to help raise the children. And basically, she missed school quite a bit because of that. And I am questioning now if she was actually born in 1897 or 1 or 2 years earlier. This is what she told me, I believe. That is because she had to more or less adjust for the fact that she had not gotten the full education, and she was therefore soon to be 2 years younger than she was.
Did she have any other, did she have any hobbies or interests that you remember?
She had a handful with 9 brothers and sisters, and her mother who was sick.
And as a mother, I mean, did she like to cook? Do you remember anything?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Anything special recipe you used to like to eat that she made?
Well, I tell you this much. I used to like her cholent, potato cholent that on Shabbos, remember. So she used to make a, what do you call it, Zwetschgenkuchen, which is plums. I used to help her, cut them open, remove the pit, and stack them in a line there. It was beautiful.
Any other special moments you remember with your mother when you were a youngster?
Yes, but this was a little later on too. When we were in the mountains in hiding, and we had hardly any food, she gave the food out of her own mouth, just about. I mean, that's, mothers are that way, but that was special.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a sister who lives over here too in Phoenix.
And her name is?
Erna, Esther,
And-
Moed, M-O-E-D,
And her maiden name was
Loey also.
Loewy. And any other brothers or sisters?
I had a brother, Max, and he was killed in the French underground in a combat against the Germans.
How did you all get along well together when you were youngsters?
I think there was a friction between my brother and me,
He was younger or older?
older, 3 years older.
And how would you describe your relationships with your brother and sister as youngsters?
My sister fine, my brother very good too. Just once in a while there's some competition type and it's expected.
Do you have any memories of any special moments together with your brothers and sisters growing up?
I wouldn't say anything outstanding as such, you know, that would be different. Just current living.
Did anyone else live in your apartment with you besides your immediate family?
No, no.
Do you remember your grandparents?
We went to Frankfurt a few times a year on special occasions. I believe, as far as I remember, I went there about 3 times when they had somebody in the family getting married. My grandparents had 10 children, and I guess I went back there for 2 of my aunts and for one of my uncles' weddings. I remember my grandfather, but I do not recall my grandmother because she passed away when I was about 2 or 3 years old.
This is your grandfather on your
Mother's side.
And his name, do you recall?
Heinrich.
Heinrich?
Jewish name was Chaim.
And his last name?
Jared, J-E-R-E-T.
And do you recall anything at all about him?
Oh yes. When we came to visit him, we visited him one time and he was in services in shul. So we went over there. The synagogue was in the back of a yard and they had a gate and we were hiding behind the gate. So my uncle had brought us over there and he surprised my grandfather who did not know we were coming. So that was a big surprise to him. And otherwise, when I was there, he usually put me on his lap for breakfast or so. It was very close.
Do you remember any of your other grandparents or just him?
That's the only one I ever met. I didn't meet my grandfather on my father's side, passed away, I believe, after World War I. And my grandfather never came to France.
How would you describe your religious background?
My grandparents were very religious. My parents were kosher until the war, when we couldn't get anything.
Can you recall how any of the Jewish holidays were celebrated in your home? For example, start with Shabbos. Do you recall any Shabbos?
Friday night, we had a dinner.
What was it like? Describe it.
Very, very close. I mean, it was a very warm, and we were looking forward to that, always.
What can you remember about the actual Shabbos dinner?
Well, as I mentioned before, she used to have the potato cholent there.
What was in that? What is cholent?
It's actually I am not sure how they do it, but it's a baked potato with all kinds of things in there, sometimes meat or other things, you know. You have different types of chorn. So it's baked for quite a long time. Also, we had what they call galeritten, which was you baked the feet of calves, and that made like a gel. We used to call it galeritten. I'm not sure what they call it in English or so. It was excellent thing. A lot of work, but it was excellent.
Anything else? Can you recall anything about Passover?
Oh, yes. For one thing, we had place where we had to buy, one place in town where you had to buy all your Passover food. And I used to go there with my mom and sometimes my brother and select the food and whatnot we needed, the matzahs, the chocolate or whatever, you know, all the goodies.
Who led the Seder?
My father.
Do you remember anything at all about the Seder?
Oh, yes. He used to put on his white kittel, and it was very, very formal. I mean, he had what they call stekshir, which is slippers on. And I remember all the time when he used to wash his hands and whatnot, you know, and all the ceremonies, yes. And when we used to steal the afikomen.
And was it just your family that was at the Seder, or were there other people there?
Sometimes we had visitors too, yes.
How about Sukkot? Did you have a sukkah in your yard for Sukkot?
No, there was no yard there, but they had one in the shul.
Did you belong to a certain synagogue?
Yes.
In
There
where?
there was only one in Colmar.
In Colmar.
In Strasbourg, it was a matter of, yes, we did belong to one in Strasbourg, near the old, what they call the fish market. And that was torn down. They had a big synagogue there too, and the Germans used it for horses, for a stable. And then it was raised after that.
So the synagogue you remember the most is the one in
Colmar,
Colmar?
yes.
Did that have a name?
I don't recall. I knew where it was. It was on Place des Cigognes. I was bar mitzvah over there. My brother was bar mitzvah over there before me.
What do you recall about your bar mitzvah?
Well, we had some family that came from Germany, visit over there. One of my uncle smuggled out a camera because at that time was a problem getting it out of Germany or into France. Gave it as a gift, and I think I still have it over here someplace. Although it doesn't work anymore, I don't think.
So it was a camera? You were given a camera?
Yeah. That was a big thing because in those days, you know, they being also foreigners in Germany, they had a rough time of it.
So did you attend Hebrew school in
Oh, yes.
preparation for your bar mitzvah?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I had a private instructor for that.
Do you recall
Mr. Schiffman was his name.
anything else about any other Jewish holidays that come to mind? Purim?
Purim, yes. In the shul, they used to have all the children go in a circle around the, well, the way it was arranged, they had some seats over there in the middle and on the sides, and all the children got together, walked around, we had some small flags, and were singing, and got some candies and all that, and so forth.
April 29th, 1996.